right here because I like the grip on it, and it's not like metal, so it doesn't like freeze my fingers in the winter. And also, what I don't really like about it is right here because it's really narrow, and sometimes the ball always hits right here. And also, my net sometimes I get big holes in it, and I have to fix it. But I like the butt of it because it's fun, and you can take it off and get new ones. And I like the design on it, the little. Only if it was orangey blue for Huskies.
The day my life changed was when I was a senior in high school, going into college, the summer going into college. I was supposed to go to Eastern Illinois, but that all changed. I ended up going to ISU, which I was really grateful for. But in June 2006, my dad, who was the healthiest man I knew, had a seizure on Father's Day. When my mom, my sister, my dad, and I were walking up from a movie. 4 of us were really close, so we did that pretty frequently. And we turned around to see my dad about a half block away from us having a seizure on the ground. So, I mean, it was very sudden and unexpected and shocking for all of us. So we obviously ran. We were trying to find, houses that were open. My sister, I remember my mom. I didn't know what to do. It was one of those situations where you don't really know what you're gonna do until you're put in it. And I wasn't really so pleased with my reaction, but I was like pretty much frozen where I stood. And my mom and my sister were screaming, and thankfully we were by some tennis courts, and one of the people playing tennis happened to be a doctor, so he came and looked at my dad, and my dad was very prideful, so he got up after having a seizure, and he was like, I'm fine. And my mom was like, no, Tom, you're not fine. Like, we need to call an ambulance, and the doctor, thankfully, who was there, agreed with my mom, so my mom pretty much made him stay on the ground and wait for the ambulance to come, but he was really embarrassed by that. So the ambulance came, took him away. For a solid month, they did all these tests on him. My dad was confident that the doctors were telling him that everything that they said was true, that he was fine. He didn't have any heart conditions, no brain problems, but this seizure was just undiagnosed. We had no idea what was wrong. So on July 31st, so about a month and a half later, my dad came home from work one night. I was out for dinner with my friends in Oak Brook, which was relatively far for me to be, from my family at that point. I mean, not like I didn't go out, I don't know how to describe that, I guess, but far for like having dinner with my friends. It happened to be like a lifeguard banquet. And my sister was home with my dad, and my mom, which was one of the most abnormal things, was not with my dad. I mean, they were attached at the hip pretty much. So, they had just celebrated their 25th anniversary about a week prior to this. So she went over to her friend's place, and my dad came home from work. And my mom was really on edge for the whole month, very cautious about my dad working out, but he was such a healthy guy that he really liked to stay in shape, so he was constantly working out. And really went against my mom's wishes and was like, Maggie, I told the doctors A-OK me, like I'm good to go. And that night he died really suddenly and unexpectedly, and my sister was the only one that was there. So my sister Mary, who's a year older than me, was the only one home at the time, and she thankfully had been certified, both of us being lifeguards and everything, had been certified in CPR. So my dad was laying in his bed eating dinner, and she tried to pull him down to give him CPR, but we later found out from the doctors and people working in the ambulance, EMTs, that he had already passed away. So there was really nothing she could do, which was good news for her, but it was still a very, very traumatic experience. I, however, like I said, was out to dinner with my friends, and my phone actually had been broken, so I couldn't see who I was receiving calls from, and when I was making calls, I basically had to guess, just using, the numbers I knew in my head. So I got this call from this frantic person, and I couldn't even distinguish that was Mary's voice, and she was like, I think he's dead, She was screaming to me, like crying. It was hard to decode what she was saying. And I was just like, who is this? Like, what? I really had like no idea what was going on. So then through like her tears, I was able to distinguish that was her. And my friends immediately took me home from dinner. We were at P.F. Chang's. And I just remember like in the car being like, no, I don't know. The best way I could describe it is like, I just knew like he was gone. I don't know how I did or why, but I remember saying it to my friend Keely. I was like, I think he's dead. Like, I mean, obviously, bawling, crying. It was a lot more dramatic than I am right now. And she, like a good friend, was rubbing my back. No, he's fine. Like, we'll get there. You know, like, he'll be fine. And I remember pulling up on my block, small little block in River Forest, and just the street was covered with people. I mean, just like what seemed like hundreds of people, lights flashing everywhere, ambulance, fire trucks, police cars. I was like, and then the second I saw that, I was like, okay, like this is really very serious. And I remember I didn't even wait for the car to stop before I jumped out and ran into my house and just like pushed through people. I really didn't care. And I remember I saw my sister being carried by one of the firemen down the stairs, and she looked, I mean, I thought she was dead. She had lost all of the color in her face and her body. She looked exhausted, tired, crying, weeping. So then I remember, I mean, the whole night's a little hazy, but I remember getting in the car with my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, and Mary, and I were in the backseat. Two of my cousins, and Mary and I were in the backseat. And we were all holding hands, and we were just praying the whole car ride to the hospital, which was thankfully, only about 10 minutes away. And then I remember being there, and it never ceases to amaze me when I think about what the doctors say to people, because I remember sitting in between my aunt and my cousin and looking at my mom, who was sitting across from me, and the doctor came out and he said, "Are you the family of Thomas Patrick Hamilton?" And we all were like, "Yes." He said, "I'm sorry, we did everything we could." And I was like, I couldn't believe, I felt like I was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy or something. Like, I couldn't believe that those were the wording that they used and everything. So, the other thing I remember, I mean, like I said, this is a pretty hazy night, but was the second they said, "I'm sorry," my aunt and my cousin just like pushed in on my body like really hard, because they like knew I was just gonna pretty much like deplete in my seat. So like, I just remember like feeling, and then from that night on, my life's been completely different. There's been good things that have happened, obviously, but it's been very different. But one of the best things that happened to me was I had the opportunity to attend ISU, and I now am a student teacher at O'Neill Middle School, so 8th grade, and I just had a great college experience, which I'm grateful for. They were able to get me into ISU so I could be with my sister, who was attending ISU and is a year older than me, so that made the transition. I was going to a school before Eastern Illinois that I knew nobody at, so that would have been really difficult after such a traumatic experience. So.
All right, perfect.
Barbie put that shoe on. It's like the Cinderella. Oh yeah, and look. This is strawberry shortcake. And she obviously likes dolls. Yeah, because there's a couple of them. For stripes. Oh, this probably goes to the Barbie. She probably misses her teddy bear. Probably misses all her little toys. And they're friends. She is getting married. They're friends together. And someone's wearing stripes. Getting married to Ken. Ken and Barbie. She only has one shoe. She's definitely she definitely needs her hair done. Yeah, we need to brush this. Get your weed in. We should try to find this. Yeah, because she takes really good care of